welcome once again to the Write Club, 21 Days to Write Your Book. And there are no rules in Write Club, but there are rules with a W, and here is one of them. As you're writing your book, you are going to start to promote your book, promote for profit. This could have easily been promote for profit, as in PROPHET, because you actually do have to be a profit for the future of your book in order to really launch your book and make it an international bestseller. I know a lot of creative people have a hard time with the word marketing, and it feels sort of icky. And every author just wants to write this great, amazing piece of art, put it out into the world, and just have the world pick it up and run with it, and for it to be a viral success. And while that does happen, it doesn't happen if you're hiding your beautiful piece of art in the closet or in a drawer or somewhere where no one can see it. What you want is to actually have your book be in front of the right people at the right time. So that's what we're going to get into today. How to launch your book and make it an international bestseller. But first, we have to look at the 3 marketing myths. The first myth, and this is why we're touching on this now before your book is finished, is thinking that you need to wait until your book is done before marketing it. In fact, you're going to start to build your core group, your early readers, your beta testers, early in your writing process. If you're already this far into this course, then you should already be sharing your work with those around you. If you have social media, you should already be sharing daily little excerpts of your work on Facebook, on Instagram, on Pinterest, on LinkedIn, whatever it is that is your vibe and your audience, you should be sharing. Now, you could also take it a step further and start to share your articles. Medium.com is great, pitching to online places like Huffington Post is great. You could also pitch to traditional newspapers and magazines. But starting to have an audience for your work sharpens your tools. So don't wait until your book is done. Start now. It will also give you a very good feel for what people want to hear. And while you're not writing for what they want to hear, you are testing it. You're doing split testing. If you have 2 themes or 2 directions that you'd like to go, you can now find out which has the biggest resonance with people. Myth number 2 is that you think that you need to know what your book is all about before you begin to promote it. Again, if you're sharing on social media or in online articles or online forums or traditional forums, different articles, you might actually find that you have built a niche that hasn't been explored before, but you wouldn't know that unless you had started to write. And the audience might take your writing in a completely different direction. You might be thinking that you're going to write fiction, and the audience might come to you and say, well, this is very inspirational. We'd like to read more of that, please. So you don't need to know. This is one of the biggest myths that holds us back. And the reality is that your book promotion begins before you've even written your first word. So putting your work out for people to read validates and refines your idea or your ideas. Myth number 3, the thought that you think that you're pestering people with promotion. And I get that because there's a whole world of online marketing that is kind of cringeworthy. It's kind of eek. And you don't want to be pestering people into their inbox, letting them know that you're selling something. It feels very salesy, but it's very different than inviting people on board. For instance, every one of my authors, as I'm working with them and building out their program and doing what I call book wizarding or book genie with them, they start by leaving little hints that a book is coming out. For instance, the author that I'm just working with now put on her Instagram 4 pictures and asking which one would her audience most like to see as the back of her book author picture. Now, not only was this great marketing, and I'm going to put that in air quotes, marketing for her book, it's also amazing. She was shocked with the picture that everyone chose. And the reasons that everyone chose. People liked her smile and her natural, laid back, it was just in a beautiful field of lavender. And what she thought was that she looked the least professional of all the pictures, but her audience was actually telling her that's the one that resonated with them the most. So getting that kind of vibe from people has you start to build your own identity as an author and building and differentiating your value proposition, who you are in the world. And that's not pestering people. That's just promoting. That's letting people know what you're up to and letting them jump on board with you. Your ideal reader is waiting for your message. They want to tell you which one is their favorite picture or their favorite cover or their favorite line. Anyone who would be, quote unquote, bothered by your book promotion is just not your ideal reader. It's just not the person who would anyway pick up your book. So it's more of a mental block to try to win over the people who are bothered than it is a creative release to just give the message to the ideal readers, the people who are waiting and willing and looking to buy your book. So just release all the people who would be bothered. They're not your ideal reader. And then we get into the book launch. And I have other courses, Self-Publishing Simplified, for instance, that just goes into this in a much deeper way. But to give an overview of, as you're building into the launch, you've got your pre-launch phase, which if you've taken this and you've written your book in about 21 days, you are, if you haven't already started in the pre-launch phase, start now, start today. As much lead time as you can get without giving it too much lead time. But if you've done the premise of this course and already given an end date to your book, start now and put in your calendars 60 days from that end date for your launch. So essentially 2 months from now, 2 months from your end date is your launch. Then you've got your launch week strategy and the launch phase. So that's really in that critical crunch time of launch and then post-launch. And we're going to look at each one of these individually. So the pre-launch phase is to build hype, to build a list, and to build your dream team. So this is your core 10, this is your OGs. This is as you start to build that list and get people hyped up about your book coming out. And this, as I said, if you have only 2 months, well, you can just move this timeline up a little bit faster. You want to build your launch partnerships. Start to reach out to those people who are, maybe they're influencers, maybe they have a bigger list than you, or maybe they're podcast hosts. They have in the same genre as you have. Reach out to them. You would be surprised how many of these people are actually looking to promote up-and-coming authors. And then you start posting the story of your writing journey. If you're not doing that already, why not? A picture of you working away, a word count, a picture of how many words you've written, a picture of your notebook as you're doing the meditations, the free writing meditations and what comes up. Start to build that up, put the pictures up. Whatever social media or media channel you're using, start to employ that. 2 months prior to launch, so that's about that 60 days, that's when you start asking for input and feedback about your book title, your book cover, your website design, your author pictures, all of those. Now we say in today's world, we talk about this being an online strategy, but this goes back, there are very many authors. I know Stephen King, back when he was a teacher, whenever he would think of a new book, he would put it on the billboard, the push pin billboard of the school, and he would have his students vote on the name of the book, and he would give 2 or 3 throwaway names that he wasn't actually considering using, and then the one that he actually thought he would use. And time again, the students actually voted for one of the ones that he hadn't even considered using, but they gave him the feedback on what resonated with them. So it's a good idea to do this, not just on social media, you could do it anywhere. And it's one of those techniques that has been employed by authors forever. When you get around that 6 weeks prior to launch time, that's when you reach out to your early readers, and you don't have to send them a finalized copy. Let them start to pick up your email subscription list and give them teasers. Email them a paragraph at a time, or maybe a chapter at a time. Whatever it is that you're working on, let them start seeing it. This does double duty. As we get closer to the launch, it is natural for us to get scared. It's kind of like being on that roller coaster. And as you start getting up closer to the peak, you start thinking, oh my God, what am I doing here? Is it too late to back down? If I scream, will they let me off this ride? I don't want to do this. I've changed my mind. And that is natural to feel as you're launching a book. So having this in place lets the audience come back to you, lets you build your courage up, and lets them reflect back to you how your words are landing. So chapter by chapter, paragraph by paragraph, send them something along the way. 4 weeks prior to launch, you create a little gift, something that you can give away to potential readers in exchange for their email address, so that you can start building a launch strategy. And 1 week prior to your launch, find your best category on Amazon and prepare your launch dream team for launch day. Then we go into your pre-launch phase, build it and they will come. So how to build up anticipation without being sleazy or salesy. You start to post daily, tell the story of your book writing journey, social media, emails. Twice a week is awesome. 3 times a week is better. 4 times a week is even better. If you can create interest 5 times a week, even better. Ask for their opinion, their input on everything. They will feel that they're contributing to you, and they'll be more invested and willing to support you. Then you're going to start building credibility with speaking. Toastmasters, Rotary clubs, story circles, Facebook Lives, Reels, TikTok, whatever it is that you can speak about on any platform, start to speak. Start to pitch the podcast circuit. You can use a search engine. There's ones like Listen Notes to book podcast interviews, and in the months and weeks prior, during, and post your launch. Start to speak. People love to buy the books of someone that they've heard speaking. And then you build your chops with writing. As I mentioned, you can start to increase your visibility, SEO as well. SEO is search engine optimization. Contribute to, go sign yourself up for HARO, Help a Reporter Out. They post all of the newspapers that are looking for work. Open publications like Medium, Elephant Journal, and then you could also submit online, Huffington Post, national news syndicates. Write everywhere. And then you build the rapport by that giveaway. Now, those things, they alternate, they change all the time of what's trending and what's not, but it could be a checklist, a self-assessment, it could be a little quiz, tips, tricks, a playbook, a video, a webinar, anything. Give that freebie in that pre-launch phase. And then you start building a list with emails, Leadpage, MailChimp, ClickFunnels, Aweber, ActiveCampaign, or Kartra. And I don't have a preference for anyone, but start building your email list. And then look for those dream team, those people who are influencers in your niche. Ask them to interview you, or you interview them on the topic, and then give them an incentive to strategically partner with you. They absolutely are looking for people to launch partner with. And then we get into the pivotal aspect. The most pivotal aspect is that you are going to look in your launch week for that best category for you. I always recommend that every author, whether you're self-publishing or looking to publish with a publishing house, create yourself a book proposal, looking at all of the comparable books in your niche, in your category, and look which categories they're in. And there are a lot of strategies to create your book as a bestseller. But just to let you know, your book as an Amazon bestseller ranking, an ABSR, means that your book gets seen in more searches. It gets higher on the algorithm and that just starts this domino effect. The more people see it, the more Amazon will show it. So you want to employ some of these strategies. And then you've got the launch phase. 1 week, let the people know it's coming soon. If you want, you can set up your ads campaign or do it completely organically, but start to plan your strategies. Get excited about promoting your book. And then the day before, remind people that it's tomorrow, reduce the price of the book. There's that ability to do that for that launch phase. And as you're launching and climbing up the ranks, take a lot of screenshots, post them on social media. It's really actually great to see. It gets really exciting. Every author I work with says, I love this. It's like watching the sausage be made in the sausage factory. You actually can see it climb, and it gets kind of addictive. And then as you're posting that, all of those screenshots later in the day, remind people that you've just got that little bit left. You're looking to make it into that top 10, top 2, top 1 as you're going. And also thank the people who have already contributed to you getting to that. Then boost a bestseller. Keep that low price for that 24 to 72 hour window. And then employ the stack category strategy. So this is that you go back in and change some of the categories within your Amazon author central page or KDP upload, and stack some of the other categories in. We all know that there are some categories that are not being shown, or I should say we do now know, if you haven't known before. Amazon hides some of its categories. Now, before you go thinking, well, oh, that Amazon, why did they do that? It actually started out very innocently. There are categories that were traditionally accepted by SAC categories by all publishing industry. Amazon just created a wider field for people to play with. Some of your keywords will pick up that category, and you want to have a category that is true to your niche, but as little competition in that niche as possible. And so you're trending as a bestseller in all of the categories together. So that's a stack category strategy. And then, of course, thank your partners, thank your dream team, thank your OGs, keep your tribe updated in the following days. And then in the days following, as your bestseller numbers start to go down, offer up another bump strategy, another opportunity for free speaking or book clubs, or something that you're giving as another gift to bump that ranking again. And then the post-launch phase. This is when it gets really, really fun. Everyone's looking at the book launch and really looking to make that book a great success. And I agree, it's a big rush, and it really does get addictive. The more books you bring out, the more you start to learn the system, and it really is possible to have really great success just continually launching new books. And plenty of authors have taken that strategy, especially with flash fiction, definitely literotica or romance. It is worth getting into a series of books. That being said, the post-launch phase is often forgotten about, but in my opinion, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. A book opens doors that previously there were only windows. The book opens doors for you, such as retreats. And can't you just imagine inviting all your readers to retreats or events based on the topic of the book, or in the place that the book took place, or just to experience the book, or maybe as a writing retreat? And speaking gigs, I know some of those stages like TEDx and a lot of those stages, really, you're expected to have a book in order to get on those stages. You can also sell the book in lieu of a speaking fee. So start to think now already. You can continue a video sequence that could become a YouTube series on the concepts in your book. You could also sell the foreign rights to be translated into other languages and in other sectors, other markets. Of course, if it's a fiction or a narrative memoir, you can sell the movie rights. And there are actually movie production houses that are actively on the campaign looking for books to turn into a movie. I know that seems outlandish and that seems like only the greatest successes have that, but actually think of it. Every movie you watched in the past how many years probably started as a book first, whether you know the book or not. Very often, it's once the book is signed as a movie, the rights are signed over to a movie production house, only then does the book actually become very famous. People wanting to read the book before the movie comes out. Wonder is a good example of that, or the Hunger Games, I should say. Room, another great example of that. There's many. One of my favorites, of course, is The Art of Racing in the Rain by Garth Stein. And just brilliant, brilliant books that are created with the idea of screen adaptation. So already start looking at that. And then, of course, we all know that there are lots of fan favorites that create huge income from the retail and the gifts and the swag, such as Harry Potter. We all want to wear something from Hogwarts, or a hat, or a wand. I mean, those gifts and swag really become an industry in themselves. But so do smaller authors who have a smaller platform. Things like authors who have spiritual books, for instance, who sell things like oils in combination with, or Ayurvedic books that may sell spices. So start to think about different ways that you can bring in gifts or swag. And in today's distribution network, that's actually very easy to do. So all of these things, while they're not necessary for your book writing, as you're writing your book, start to think about how you can position your book, where you can even position some of these post-launch ideas as you're writing your book. They say in the 7 secrets of highly successful people, begin with the end in mind. And when you write your book from this perspective, you have all the more power, all the more force for it to be a huge success on the other end. And with that, I wish that you start your writing journey, continue your writing journey, and look at your writing journey beginning with the end in mind. Until next time, write on.